year, the retention of freshmen was 91%. We're seeing Fisk mentioned in all the ratings, the magazine ratings, U.S. News and World Report. We're in the top tier of liberal arts institution in the southern region. We're listed in the Princeton Review top 311 schools. So there are a lot of things that I call positive indicators for Fisk University at this time.
You know, and looking back over the history of this institution, and one thing that we've heard about dealing with the institution, and I'm sure that you're familiar with this aspect of it, that's the Fisk Jubilee Singers. Why don't you give us some information about your impression as a musician about the Jubilee Singers and your first contact in reference to understanding what that organization was all about?
Well, that organization has a terrific history, and its history dates back to 1867, and when it was formed by actually the gentleman who was serving as treasurer at that time of Fisk University, responsible for the money and trying to see that the university, this young university, survive. Well, as the story goes, it wasn't surviving very well. He had formed a group of singers to sing on occasion, and they began to rehearse with a lot of seriousness. And at the point when Fisk looked like it was about to fold, he took the last few dollars left in the treasury and took the musicians, young musicians, on the road and said, I believe that we can raise enough money on the road to save the institution. Somewhere in the first year, he decided to change the music and started to sing spirituals. In those days, they were called slave songs. And it was at that time that the public began to take a different look at the Jubilee Singers, began to gather and listen to them, and actually began to produce funds that, as the legacy goes, saved Fisk University at that time and actually built a new campus and a new hall called Jubilee Hall.
And so all of that is a musical tradition, really, of Fisk University that you are now a part of and that you're now leading.
That's right. It's a rich tradition.
As a person who has been involved in music for a long time, that gives you an extra advantage in terms of having finding another resource that perhaps other folks have never understood the real value. Of course, folks have always understood the value of the Jubilee Singers, but I think that you bring quite a different perspective in terms of what that organization is all about and what can be done.
Yes, absolutely, and I think people are expecting this of me, coming to Fisk and having arts as a background. They expected me to reintroduce the arts as being very important to the institution.
You know, Dr. Smith, we're getting ready to come up to our first commercial break, and after which we'll come back and talk about some other areas. And this is one of the sort of touchy moments with me, because I really don't want to raise a question that would require a lengthy answer, and then to find out that we only have 2 minutes, 15 seconds
Appreciate
to go
that.
and then to have to interrupt. But we do want you to give us some information when we come back. Of course, we've got about a minute before that. We do want you to deal with Fisk University as an historical black institution and talk about historical black colleges, because I think that if you look at what is happening on the national scene now, I think that there's much more understanding and much more appreciation to what institutions like Fisk University and Langston University and many of the other historical black colleges have been able to achieve. And I think that there was a time, and you've already indicated, where people have sort of turned away from these institutions and understanding the importance of it. And what we want you to do as the president of Fisk University when we come back is to talk about historical black institutions and how you believe that these institutions can continue to provide the kind of education and the kind of professionals that are necessary even in the day in which we live. And of course, we want to do that when we come back, and we'll be back with you following this short commercial break.